Alright, somebody sent me a message saying, hey, you're contradicting yourself because you're fencing with your son and you said that you're not going to, borrow any techniques from other countries or do anything from other countries but only China. And he says, well, fencing didn't originate from China. Well, I would like to argue that, because I was using this fencing thing. It was actually a good experience. I enjoyed using it, but it's very similar to the Tai Chi sword. If you look at the Tai Chi sword, this is exactly how you'd be fighting. Same thing. It's pretty much the same exact technique that you'd be using with the Tai Chi sword as if you're using this one. It's just that this is for training purposes and this is just too dangerous to spar with. But it's exactly pretty much the same exact techniques, and the Chinese martial arts is the origination of everything, as far as martial arts is concerned. And another thing is it's just making it my own. I call it FMK fencing because it's my own now. I'm pretty sure, I don't think the nunchucks originated from China. It might have been from another country. But the fact of the matter is, you could take it in and make it your own, and that's what Bruce Lee was talking about. If there's something that I like from another country or another group of people, I learned a lot from Africans. I love African American culture. I could take that and make it a part of my own, and then I label it my own. And that's what I'm telling people to do. The Japanese took from the Chinese and then labeled it their own. They labeled it karate, which means the Chinese fist. Well, what I'm going to do, I'll take from the Japanese if I want to, and I'll label it my own. But that's pretty much what companies do out there. You got Mercedes taking Tesla's SUV and just breaking it down and rebuilding it back up because they want to figure out what they did. And then they want to mimic, they want to make it their own and then basically have their own expression. And that's what creativity, getting ideas from other cultures, other countries, and then just making it a part of your own expression. But it's like, I'm not just representing the Chinese, I'm also representing America, but on the larger scale, I'm just representing my own expression of the martial arts. And yes, I can learn from different cultures, but as far as being a representative of certain cultures, I can only be a representative of two, either America or China, because that's where my blood goes back to, and I was born in America. But I'm not saying that the Japanese have absolutely nothing to offer. There's things that I do value as far as Zen is concerned. Zen means meditation in Japanese, and even my son's middle names are Zen. I like that word to represent meditation because it's just short, simple, and easy. Rather than saying meditation, you just say Zen, which is just a 3-letter word. But at the same time, the Chinese have their way of saying meditation, which is Chan. But if I was more familiar with it back then, I maybe would have labeled their middle name Chan. But it's okay, because Japanese culture, they have stuff to offer, but you turn it into the Chinese. So the Japanese call it Zen, the Chinese call it Chan. Japanese call it Sensei, Chinese call it Sifu. Alright, so some culture calls it the nunchaku. Well, we'll call it the songjitguan. That's Chinese for nunchaku. So I'm not going to call it nunchaku anymore. We're going to turn it into our own songjitguan. With the fencing, I don't go by the fencing rules. I create my own rules. I do it my own way. I don't need anybody from Spain or any other country to teach me how to use it. I'm going to figure it out on my own. They might be known for fencing, but I'm going to make it known, Kung Fu to be known for the same thing as well. And they already are. It's the Tai Chi sword. That is the same thing. Literally, it's the same techniques, and essentially this is the real weapon. This is just training purposes. And I've been using this I've been training in this for the longest. From the beginning of my school, I've always used this blue baton, and I always use this training right here for training purposes. And no matter if I use this, or this is all just combat training, you know. And the U.S., the Americans, it's known that the Chinese were the ones who invented the gunpowder, so they're the first ones who created the firearm. And then the America is known for guns. I mean, they got the most guns out of any country in the world. So they made it a part of their own. They took the creation and they just went off with it. The fencing techniques, I don't need to learn from other people. I know what to do, and I train with it, and I make it my own. You know, I just call it FMK fencing. I could call it anything else I want. I could call it FMK Tai Chi sparring. You know, I could say that, or FMK Tai Chi sword sparring. I could call it just FMK sword sparring. Basically, I'm just sparring with the swords. This has nothing to do with anything, no other countries, but this is my techniques. I'm just using equipment that I feel is going to be very beneficial for our growth. And this tip right here is not going to be as dangerous. It's just a metal tip like this, you know. But if you start sparring with something like this that's actually sharp, I mean, this is just too dangerous to spar with, you know. But you know, that's what I had to say about that. I think it's hard for people to understand where I'm coming from. I'm just saying, like, there's no way that people could try to say that they're multicultural or mixed, but there's a limitation of how much, you know, that you're actually representing within your ancestry and your history and your blood. You know, like, don't tell people, you know, I've been heavily influenced by the African American culture, but I'm not going to tell people that I'm black, white, Chinese, and Japanese, and Korean, just because I know a few Taekwondo kicks. I'm not going to tell people I'm Korean, you know, because that's not who I am. You know, that's what people are doing out there. Oh, they learn a triangle choke, and then all of a sudden they practice they're a representative of BBJ. Oh, you know, they learned a few kicks. Now they're teaching Taekwondo. You know, they learn a few techniques on the wooden dummy. Now they teach Wing Chun. I mean, that to me is all wrong. It's like I'm not telling people that I'm not even telling people that I teach fencing. This is just us doing some sparring with these fencing swords. You know, I'm not teaching people anything. You know, if anything, I'll teach people what I know. You know, these are my fencing techniques. You know, and people have a history from where they're from. So if you're from America, then that's fine. If you're from China, that's fine. If you're Chinese American, then you could state that. But don't tell people, oh, you know, I'm Chinese, African American, Korean, Thai, Japanese. You know, you're lying to people. You know, as far as like being honest with where you're from. And you know, you can learn from different cultures, but make it a part of your culture, and then have your own expression of it. And that's what Bruce Lee was talking about. Hey, you know, learn from the whole world, but be yourself. You know, like be yourself, express yourself. You know, don't go around basically telling people, oh, I teach Kung Fu, I teach karate, I teach Jiu-Jitsu, I teach Taekwondo. It's like you're claiming all these different cultures that is not a part of who you are. You know, and you're not getting permission from these people to represent those cultures. You know, that's my issue right there. You know, and as far as what the Japanese did to the Chinese and the rape of Nanking, that's very wrong. You know, and what I say is, you know, it's like the way that the African Americans feel about the Nazi symbol, well, I say that some of those Chinese will feel that with the samurai sword, the katana. They can look at the katana like it's a Nazi symbol, because they literally use the katana to cut off the heads of these Chinese people. There's a gruesome history. And that's how it makes me feel now. Knowing about the rape of Nanking and what they did with those katanas and what they did to those people, when I see the katana now, it makes me feel horrible inside, because my roots go back to China. I'm gonna take it more serious than non-Chinese people. You know, so if your great grandfather got hung from a tree from Nazis, it's gonna make you feel a certain way. You're gonna be very sensitive about that. You know, the blacks went through a lot, you know, during slavery, and so did the Chinese. You know, and the Japanese don't deserve to hide that history away and make it appear as if they're pure and innocent and just all good. No, like, show what they did in the past, what they really did. You know, that's what I'm trying to educate people on.